Call to order this regular meeting of the Show Low Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, February the 10th, 2026. Roll call shows that all commissioners are present this evening. Next, we will have the invocation given by Commissioner Schneff, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Chair Wilson. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Dear Craig, gracious Heavenly Father, we come before thee on this planning and zoning meeting. We ask thee that thou will guide us and direct us to best help our beautiful city of Show Low to the ability that we have as the planning and zoning. Heavenly Father, we love thee and we say in his name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, we have a new business, and item A under new business is consideration of election of officers, and I will turn it over to Director Tregaskis to give us an introduction to this agenda item.
Thank you, Chair. So the first meeting of calendar year, Planning and Zoning Commission elects the chairman and vice chair. This is our first meeting so far this year, so this falls to tonight. Essentially, it's a pretty straightforward process. The chair would call for nominations for the position of chair. Second would take place. Chair would ask if there are any additional nominations. Once there are no additional nominations, there would just be a vote taken. Individual who receives majority of the vote wins. Same process for vice chair. Following the election of the chair and the vice chair, we would take, if needed, just a small recess so that people can switch seats and we can move name tags again if needed. If the current chair and vice chair retain their positions, then we'll just move on with the next item on the agenda. So, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you for nominations.
Thank you, Director, and I will open it up to nominations for the chairperson position. Commissioner Adams.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Barlow for chair.
I'd like to second that.
I have a second by Vice Chair Wilson. Any other nominations? Seeing none, we will have a vote for Commissioner Barlow to be the chairman for the 2026 year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. Move on to the vice chairperson position. Do I have any nominations for the vice chair position? Commissioner Smith.
Commissioner Wilson.
I have a nomination for Commissioner Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Whipple. Any other nominations? We will move on to the vote then. All those in favor of Commissioner Wilson for the vice chair position signify by saying aye. Aye. That passes unanimously as well. Makes it easy. We'll move on to item B. Consideration of conditional use permit 602-04-279 submitted by Scott Hooper of Pinnacle Consulting, Inc. on behalf of T-Mobile to allow for an 85-foot monopine cell tower located at 200 West McNeil. And I will turn it over to Ms. Celine for the staff summary report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I first want to express my apologies and clarify a point. I incorrectly spelled the applicant's name wrong in the staff report. It is Scott Hopper, not Scott Hooper. So forgive me. Scott Hopper of Pinnacle Consulting, Inc., on behalf of T-Mobile, has submitted an application for a conditional use permit to allow for an 85-foot monopine cell tower located at 200 West McNeil. The subject property is currently utilized as the Arizona Department of Transportation Road Yard and the Arizona Department of Public Safety Show Low office. It is zoned C1 Neighborhood Commercial, C2 General Commercial. Placement of a wireless telecommunication tower requires a CUP at this location. At the regular scheduled meeting held on June 19th, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission granted a CUP for an 80-foot monopine cell tower at this site. However, the tower was never constructed, and that CUP has now expired. The applicant proposes to lease 2,057 square feet of the ADOT property and place an 85-foot tall monopine cell tower. There is a 15-foot wide access and utility easement that will be utilized by the applicant. The monopine will be approximately 473 feet from the north property line, 745 feet from the east property line, 397 feet from the south property line, and 231 feet from the west property line. The entire subject property is currently surrounded with a 6-foot high chain link fence, and the applicant has proposed a 40 by 53 foot long, 6-foot tall fence to surround the monopine and associated equipment. No additional lighting is required to the assessment according to the assessment outlined in the FFA 7460 report submitted by the applicant. City Code Section 19.115.070B5A states, separation from all residentially zoned properties shall be a minimum of 100 feet or the fall zone as certified by an engineer, whichever is greater. From the proposed site from the monopine, there will be 2 neighboring subdivisions, C.K. Peterson and Hugh Whipple. The C.K. Peterson subdivision is about 520 feet away, while the Hugh Whipple subdivision is roughly 310 feet. The applicant stated that the installation of the tower is necessary at this location because of connectivity needs, equipment specifications, and to address coverage gaps. Our alternative sites nearby were evaluated but deemed impractical by the applicant. Findings of facts. Scott Hopper of Pinnacle Consulting, Inc., on behalf of T-Mobile, has submitted a conditional use permit to allow for an 85-foot monopine cell tower located at 200 West McNeil. Currently, the site proposed is utilized by the Arizona Department of Transportation and Arizona Department of Public Safety. The proposed lease area of the monopine will be 2,057 square feet. The property currently contains a non-public tower that is exclusively utilized by ADOT and DPS. On June 19th, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission granted a CUP for an 80-foot monopine cell tower at this site. However, the tower was never constructed and that CUP is now expired. The nearest residential property line is approximately 310 feet away, with the C.K. Peterson subdivision about 520 feet from the proposed monopine. Other locations in the vicinity were considered, however, the other locations were determined to be unfeasible by the applicant. The current zoning for the surrounding properties include North, MH, Manufactured Housing, South, C2, General Commercial, East, C1, Neighborhood Commercial, and C2, General Commercial, West, MH, Manufactured Housing, and R27, Single Family and Multifamily Residential, 7,000 square feet. The current land uses of the surrounding properties include North Residential, South Horn Auto, East KC Motel and Horseshoe Trailer Park, West Residential. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies. No applicable comments have been received. The property was posted and letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. No phone calls were received. After reviewing the standards for review, the zoning ordinance, discussions with the applicant, and because the request is consistent with the City of Show Low general plan, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve conditional use permit 602-04-279 submitted by Scott Hopper, of Pinnacle Consulting, Inc. on behalf of T-Mobile to allow for an 85-foot monopine cell tower located at 200 West McNeil, subject to the following conditions. All development shall comply with applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including Federal Communications Commission, Federal Aviation Administration, and building permit requirements. The tower shall be in conformance with the submitted site plan. No further height extensions are allowed unless approved through future conditional use permits. A new CUP will be required if there is a change in ownership of the subject property. Myself, Director Turgaskis, and the applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Celine. I'll open up to the commission for questions for staff. Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, other than the additional foot, it looks like that was approved back in 2019. Are there any other changes to the permit that are before us, or is it pretty much the same?
Pretty much consistent with what was approved prior. As noted, they are requesting an additional 5 feet beyond what was previously approved. However, the proposed location is consistent with what was requested previously, and the monopine design is consistent with what was requested previously.
Any other questions for staff? I have one on the findings of fact. It discusses a current non-public tower that's used by ADOT. And this may be a question for the applicant. Is that tower located near where this tower is? And do we have a height on what that existing tower is, just for comparisons?
So the existing tower is a lattice type tower. It is located kind of on the southeast corner of the property, very near to the property line shared with the KC Motel. When that was proposed, staff did request with ADOT that that be located in a more centralized location and not necessarily right along the property line. ADOT felt that the city's request was not valid, and so they went ahead and placed it at that front location. Because it's a state government entity, we really can't tell them where it needs to be. We were really hopeful that they would at least listen to our request, so.
And do we know how tall that tower is?
I don't know specifically, no. If I told you, it'd be a guess, so.
Just
Vice
out,
Chair Wilson.
just out of curiosity, where's the fence gonna be? This 40-foot fence, like,
So they are proposing a fence around the tower base. You can see here on the overhead, kind of what the tower is proposed to look like with the monopine treatment. And you can see the fence there along the bottom. Go back to the previous slide. We marked kind of the general area with a star. That's where the fence location would be right around that. So again, the setbacks that we showed on the previous map, they're going to be about 231 feet into the property at the nearest point to the tower and 4th Avenue.
Any other questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Adams, if the applicant would come forward, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Scott Quinn, not to be confused with Scott Hooper, I mean Scott Hopper, 1426 North Marvin Street, Gilbert, Arizona. First of all, I would like to thank the chairman and members of the commission for this opportunity here. And as staff so eloquently laid out, this has been years in the making. You know, COVID obviously derailed this particular site. It's a site that's desperately needing coverage for T-Mobile, along with Verizon, who's also requested to potentially locate at this site. So we already know that it's an ideal location. You have a lot of undulating terrain here in the Show Low area, and so this particular site provides better opportunities for line of sight to shoot to other locations and also cover some of those areas that are down the low-lying areas. So it is a critical site from that standpoint. And then to answer your question with respect to that other lattice tower that the ADOT utilizes, that's 123 feet, and I believe that includes the height of the omnis. So the actual tower itself, I'm going to guess, those are usually about 20-foot omnis. So you're looking at, you know, roughly a 85 to 90-foot tower, I think. And then they also have large dishes on there, so it's already at a point where it's probably got, I don't want to say it's structurally compromised, but if you start adding a lot of weight loading to it, it's going to probably have to be structurally modified to make it work. And then what we've historically found out with a lot of the ADOT and emergency control systems, they typically want to have their towers for themselves. They don't want anyone else on there, and sometimes they even look at it as like a conflict of interest. They just want to keep, you know, church and state separate, basically, for lack of a better term. The monopine, it is a little bit taller, and that's because of the technology. I mean, now we're trying to do more to camouflage them, so we put more branches. So it's technically the top 5 feet will be branches, and then, so you have 85 feet, and then the actual steel portion will be 80 feet. And then the antenna center lines will be at about 75 feet. So if you have like an 8-foot antenna on there, you have 4 feet to the top of that and 4 feet to the bottom of it. I think that's, I don't want to go too deep in this because I know you'll have like one question, but hopefully that answers the question or?
No, not really.
Okay.
Appreciate the
Okay. All right.
So my question is, it's been, almost 7 years since the last application and since we approved it. So in that time, I know you mentioned COVID, but that seems like a long time to delay a project for COVID. So what's different this time, and do we think that we can actually build it this time?
Yeah, again, the technology's changed. Now we're truly into the 5G generation. I mean, and now that's pretty much a standard to where everyone expects that. And so now that it's time of the essence, it's got to be done and installed because the consumers demand it, the E911 demands it. It's just something that has to happen now at this point.
And previously, it was T-Mobile that was going to build it, whereas now it will be us and State Tower.
Yeah. And yeah, we were contracted, Sun State Tower was contracted by T-Mobile to obviously renew this application or get a new application, a CUP approval. And then as that's progressed, the relationships with the other carriers, there's been vested interest there as well, and they know of the importance of this particular site location.
So you guys will get it done is really what I'm hearing.
Right, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant while they're up here?
I think you answered my question earlier, but so are other providers then going to be able to use the tower as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That was the question.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll do a public comment portion. Right, I think we're about wrapped up with the commissioner questions. We'll do a public comment portion, and then they'll have a chance to respond to kind of all the questions that the public has. No, you're totally fine. Any other questions from the commissioners at this point? Then I will open it up to the public comment portion of this agenda item. If you do have a comment on this item, you can come forward to the microphone. Just make sure you state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Jackie Piles, and my address is 281 North 3rd Avenue. And my concern is any health reasons, risks, having this, tower next to my house. And also property value. Could you answer any questions about that? Health risks, property value gonna go down.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to comment on this item? We'll give you a chance to respond then, yeah. Go ahead.
Scott Quinn, again, with Pinnacle Consulting. With respect to health concerns, that's something that's over the years has been more and more debated, and that's why it was a part of the Telecommunications Act that health can no longer be used as a consideration for the approval or denial of a cell tower site. There's been, multiple studies done on it where there's been no proven issues with cellular transmissions. It's a non-ionizing frequency, so if you compare that to even a baby monitor, that's a non-ionizing frequency. Any kind of wireless device, for the most part, is non-ionizing frequency. An ionizing frequency is more like an X-ray, so this, again, needs to be compared to more of any kind of wireless type remote. Pretty much we're bombarded with that throughout society. Now you pretty much have frequencies that we are inundated with, so it's unfortunate, I don't want to say unfortunately, but it's here to stay. It's just something that's been a part of our life for quite a few decades now. With respect to property values, there hasn't been anything proven to reduce property values. In fact, there's probably been more studies on it enhancing property values because of the infrastructure that it allows for. Obviously the wireless communications. It also allows for internet capabilities, potential households. And it obviously creates a revenue stream for ADOT. And it's also very well sited. It's also camouflaged. I can't think of a better location than this particular location because of the existing vegetation. You already have a maintenance facility there that surrounds it that has a lot of ongoing maintenance, road cover material, like whether it's the crushed aggregate that's on there. You have piles of that, and you have a lot of their maintenance facilities, so all that stuff is visible. So I think that where we've cited this, where the pine trees are, is a great location with respect to trying to be sensitive to surrounding property owners' property values.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Chair, if I could add just a couple things.
Yeah.
So related to health concerns, this is something that we hear fairly frequently when it comes to cell towers and siting of cell towers. The FCC has established what they consider to be reasonable transmission frequencies and strengths. As long as the cell tower does not exceed those regulations as adopted by the FCC, they are deemed, again, and there's a lot of people that will argue one way and there's a lot of people that will argue the other. Ultimately, if they are within or below those allowable limits, then that is not something that we can use as a reason to deny. I don't want to dismiss, I understand people are concerned, but it's not something that we can say, hey, we're going to say no if they are under those limits. They have provided the paperwork and documentation showing that they are within the requirements specified by the FCC. As far as property values go, again, that's not something that we specifically get into. I think the applicant has kind of addressed the applicability of the site and what's currently going on there. So just wanted to kind of address and again, refresh the commission on the health concerns and allowable requirements on that.
Thank you, Director. Yes, Ms. Tencio.
I do just want to point out that the Telecommunications Act of 1996 does preclude the city from using the environmental effects of the radio frequencies as a basis to deny. So that is not, whether it meets standards or not standards, it's not a basis for the commission to deny.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Atencio. I'll bring it back to the commission for any further discussion or comment on this motion or on this agenda item. I'll just make a quick comment. I actually really appreciate the site of this tower in the middle center of a large parcel that's already kind of a, industrial service area. And so as far as impacts to kind of the visual corridor of the highway, I appreciate you keeping it off the highway and being thoughtful about the location of this. So I just wanted to point that out. And I'll bring it back to the commission if anyone wants to make a motion on this agenda item. Commissioner Adams.
I move to approve CUP 60204-279 submitted by Scott Hopper of Pinnacle Consulting, Inc. on behalf of T-Mobile to allow for an 85-foot monopine cell tower located at 200 West McNeil, subject to staff recommendations.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Clark. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. Director Tregaskis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As with any conditional use permit, there is a 7-day appeal period. If no appeal is received by the city clerk from a qualified individual, this will become effective.
Thank you, Director. Moving on to item C under new business. Before we get into item C, I am going to declare a conflict of interest due to my involvement on the city's design team for this project, and I will turn it over to Vice Chair Wilson to lead this agenda item.
Thank you. Do I need to switch seats? Okay.
Nope, you're good.
All right, item C, consideration of conditional use permit 602-04280, submitted by the City of Show Low to allow for the construction of a building taller than the existing height limit of 45 feet in height on property identified as APN 2102840A. And I will turn it over to Ms. Celine for a staff summary.
Thank you, Commissioners. The city of Show Low has submitted a conditional use permit application seeking to allow the construction of a building exceeding 45 feet in height. The CUP is for the proposed event center on the subject property. This property is located in the Show Low Bluff Planned Unit Development, designated as mixed use. This mixed use zoning permits public and civic use such as parks, recreational areas, and centers, which are detailed on pages 19 to 22 of Exhibit E in the Technical Master Plan for Show Low Bluff. The approval for the Show Low Bluff PUD was granted on February 4th, 2004. Based on the submitted architectural drawings, this proposed event center is set to be located on the southeast corner of the subject property and is approximately 500 feet away from the nearest residential lot. The intended structure will be between 55 and 60 feet from its finished floor level to the peak of its main ridgeline. Under the PUD's mixed-use zoning regulations, buildings may surpass 45 feet if they obtain a conditional use permit. Examples of previously constructed commercial establishments that received approval through CUPs to exceed height limitations include Summit Regional Medical Center at 72 feet, the Marriott Hotel at nearly 50 feet, 49 feet, 11 inches, and the Hampton Inn reaching a height of 46 feet. The application provided has been reviewed and complies with all required standards. Findings of facts. The city of Show Low has submitted a conditional use permit seeking to allow the construction of a building exceeding 45 feet in height. The zoning classification for this property is planned unit development. The Show Low Bluff Master Plan designated the subject property for mixed use, permitting public and civic use such as parks, recreational areas, and centers. The approval for the Show Low Bluff BUD was granted on February 4th, 2004. The proposed event center is set to be located on the southeast corner of the subject property, approximately 500 feet away from the nearest residential lot. Submitted elevations indicate that the building height will be between 55 and 60 feet from the finished floor elevation. The current zoning for the surrounding properties include north, south, east, west planned unit development. The current land uses for the surrounding properties include north, south, east, west, vacant commercial. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies. No applicable comments were received. The property was posted, letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. A public meeting outlining the project was held on February 3rd, 2026. General comments received including funding, traffic, the type of facility, the type of events envisioned, the construction schedule, and the schedule of the additional outdoor fields. No comments or questions were received regarding the conditional use permit. After the preparation of the staff report, 2 comments were received from area property owners. One was in support of the project, the other had general questions with no opposition to the height. After reviewing the standards for review, the findings of facts, discussions with the applicant, and the Show Low general plan, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve conditional use permit 602-04-280 submitted by the city of Show Low to allow for the construction of a building taller than the permitted height limit of 45 feet on property identified as APN 210-28-040A, subject to the following conditions. All development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including screening, landscaping, signage, and lighting requirements. Maximum building height shall not exceed 60 feet. The completion date of the building shall be no later than June 30th, 2028. Myself, Director Tarasis, and the applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Celine. I will now open it up to the commission for questions for staff.
Vice Chair, just a couple of things before we get into the discussion. First of all, the point before the commission this evening is whether or not the height of the building should exceed 45 feet. The location for the building has already been decided and determined. Again, the question tonight is, does the commission feel it appropriate to extend that height? Secondly, in the staff report, we say the current land uses of the surrounding properties includes, and to the west, we say vacant commercial. That is true on the subject property. There is a fairly large portion between the building and the property line However, at the property line, it then goes to residential, and there's a open space buffer that's part of the subdivision. That is residential, and then there are the actual residential lots. The open space buffer that is part of that subdivision at its narrowest point, which is kind of midway up the property line on that west side, that's approximately 100 feet from the backside of the residential privately owned lot to the property line between the two developments. So I just wanted to point that out. I didn't want people to think that this was commercial and then even more commercial. Wanted to make that clarification. Also, tonight's going to be maybe a little bit different how it works, because you've got myself who kind of represents the code and the different requirements that we have outlined. And then we also have city employees who are representing the project. We have our Public Works Director, Shane Hemsaw, is here. So he can answer questions specific to the project itself. So there may be times where you ask me a question that it's a city question, but I'm going to refer it to the representative of the project versus myself, or I may answer it. It just depends on what the question is. We also have a representative of the property owner here this evening as well. So we did post the property, we did send out letters. So this has been noticed and advertised. And we may have some people here that want to make comments. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. So I now open it up to the commission for questions for staff. No questions? All right, so then I will, give me a second. If anybody has any questions for the applicant. Yes, Commissioner Adams.
Can I do I wait for him to walk up, or, okay.
Who knows? Who's going to answer?
I was under the impression Justin was going to handle all of it. I go, yes, I'm here. What can I do for you?
Doesn't need to do anything.
Does he need to state his name and address? No. Okay.
So my question is hoping for a brief history on this. I know the city's been working on this for a while. I was hoping you'd just give us a real condensed version to how long you guys have been working on this and such.
So I believe part of the master plan, Justin, was back in '04. You see master plan documents from Shola Bluff showing this kind of commercial hub area. It's been part of this area, this development the entire time. Even back in those documents, you've seen the placement of event center or community large event center in those documents. I think we've done multiple kind of feasibility studies, looking at what kind of venue, how big, what type, what kind of events can you draw to a center like this, not only sports related, but also like weddings or other sort of events like that. So we've gone through all those studies. We're here 20 years later with a plan about halfway through schematic design. Design goes into another phase called design development. That'll be done the end of May. And then by fall, you'll have construction documents or final plans for the facility. So that's where we are from '04 to date.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
What's the timeline?
Timeline for construction, are you asking? So like I said, we're about halfway through schematic design, which is we're trying to really just say, okay, the footprint is the footprint, no more moving things around. We'll go into textures and colors and bricks, wood. What is this, the inside going to start looking like? Some of those other features, the site designs will get wrapped up this next phase by the end of May. Like I said, the final design documents will be done probably late fall, September, October timeframe. But the way we procured this project, it's a design build. We can have an early GMP or an early contract with the contractor to start moving dirt when we feel comfortable enough to do so. We're feeling pretty comfortable that could be this fall, August, September, to start moving dirt around and break ground. And the construction period, I think, was estimated by the contractor is about around 14 months. If we get another winter like we had this winter, that would be great. Probably next year is going to be the epic snow Armageddon, and we'll have to, but hopefully not.
Any other questions for the applicant? Director, did you have anything before I open it up to the public for?
Not necessarily. I will point, we do have on the overhead, the proposed elevations of the structure. You can see kind of a red line going across each one of those elevations. That's approximately the 45-foot mark. So anything that is above that red line, that is what exceeds the 45-foot height. Just wanted the commission as well as members of the public to have kind of that visual in place. One thing I did look at today, I think most people are familiar with the auditorium there at the junior high school complex. That auditorium, I think, was built back in the 70s or so. Based on elevations that we have for that, that is basically 60 feet from the ground level to the very peak of that roof. So most people, I think, are pretty familiar with that. That gives a pretty good idea when we say 60 feet. That's the maximum height that this building would be.
Thank you. I will open up to members of the public. If there's anyone wishing to comment on this item, you can come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Peter Wolf, and I live at 760 South Creekside in Show Low Bluffs. Two questions. The hotels are in a industrial zone that are at 50 feet or so.
Those are commercially zoned properties.
They're commercially zoned, thank you. So I would really like for y'all to think a little hard about what is happening here at 60 feet versus 45 feet. That's a 33% increase in height in a mixed-use residential area. So it's a little bit of a sore thumb when you kind of look at it on the horizon. That's one comment or question to consider. Second one is infrastructure and transportation. I presume this commission handles the review for roads, lighting for roadways and all that? It's a question? No. So that's a city, so if any questions I have on roadways, I have to go to city council. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else wishing to comment on the matter? If I see no additional persons, I'll bring this back to the commission for any further discussion or a motion. Yes, Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I would like to thank the Show Low City Council and staff for all their work on this. I know it's been 20 years in the making, and I'm excited as a lifelong City of Show Low resident. I'm excited to see something like this come to our city. So I'd just like to basically express my appreciation for the time, effort, the planning that this took, and I'm excited for it.
Would anybody else have any comments or a motion?
I just have a question for this. For Wolford, is it in conjunction, is it going to be extended through in conjunction with this building?
I defer that to our Public Works Director, Mr. Hemsaw. He's very qualified.
The current design build contract for the actual facility is for the property only. If you look at the exhibits, it does show Wolford Road extending and Road X being developed as a part of the development. We are actually working with our legislatures down in the state legislature to try to secure funds. We're asking for $6.5 million in a state project to get Wolford Road completed all the way from Wash all the way to Penrod Road. We're working with that team down there. We had a very favorable review last year, almost had it funded, got pulled last minute. So we're hoping that this is the year we get that state funding to really get that moving first. So we'll find out later this summer if that makes it in the state budget, but that's the plan for Wolford Road. But yes, the goal is to get Wolford Road constructed from the crossing at the creek all the way to Penrod for use for the facility.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone open to making a motion on this?
I move to approve CUP 602-04-280 submitted by the City of Show Low to allow for the construction of a building taller than the permitted height limit of 45 feet in height on property identified as APN 210-28-040A, subject to staff's recommendations.
We have a motion by Commissioner Whipple. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Adams. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Seeing no, motion passes unanimously. Director Tragaskis.
Yes, thank you. Again, as with all conditional use permits, there is a 7-day appeal period. If no appeal is received by the city clerk from a qualified individual within those 7 days, this will become effective.
We need to go get Chairman. He is. All right.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wilson. Move on to item 6, call to the public. If there's any citizen wishing to speak on a matter within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission that's not on the agenda this evening, you may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, approval of minutes. Item A is approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes of October 28th, 2025. It's been a while since we got together. Do I have a motion on approval of the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Wilson. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Whipple. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item 8, summary of current events, and we will begin with Commissioner Clark. We'll just move down the line.
My turn? All right. It's great to be here. Love being up here on the mountain and love the city. Hope you'll all be safe out there. Drive carefully. Summer's just around the corner. We got lots of people coming back, so be careful.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Commissioner McGregor. Welcome to the commission. We're happy to have you. Also like to thank staff. I know the daddy-daughter dance was recently held, and that I've heard a lot of good feedback from that, and I've been to it in prior years. It's all obviously really good, so thank you for that and for everything they do.
And he stole mine. Welcome, Commissioner McGregor. And I also want to say, if he's watching, to Gentry Hatch, congratulations for being appointed to the City Council. We will miss you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wilson. I'll echo that as well. Welcome to Commissioner McGregor. We like having a full slate of people up here and appreciate people willing to participate in this community. And I'll turn it over to Director Tragaskis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, welcome to our new commissioner. Other than that, really no report. So I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for those who came out tonight. Seeing no other items on the agenda, I will adjourn us for this evening.